There's an old village, a place lost in time, hidden deep in the wilderness of Africa. A village where traditions ruled, where there were no doctors, no hospitals, and where childbirth was in the hands of midwives. But one night, a midwife was called for a delivery, and what she witnessed that night was something beyond human understanding. This is her story. It was past midnight. The village lay in deep silence, wrapped in darkness. Inside her small hut, the midwife was asleep, until a loud, desperate knock broke the silence. She woke up with a start. Who could it be at this hour? She wondered. From outside, a trembling voice called out, "Please, open the door. My wife. She's in labor. She needs your help." The midwife hesitated. She knew every face in this village, but these voices? Unfamiliar. "Who are you?" she asked cautiously. "We're travelers. We arrived recently, but there's no time. My wife is in pain." Despite her growing fear, she couldn't ignore a woman in distress. She grabbed her medical pouch, opened the door, and stepped into the night. As she followed the two men, an unsettling feeling crept over her. Something wasn't right. She discreetly plucked leaves from the bushes along the path, dropping them one by one, marking her way, just in case. Then, she saw it. A bonfire. A massive fire, burning bright in the middle of nowhere, and around it, small children were playing. But these were no ordinary children. They ran through the flames, untouched, unburned, laughing. The midwife's heart pounded. "What is this place?" she whispered. "Focus on the delivery," one of the men said coldly. She swallowed her fear and stepped inside the hut. Inside, a pale woman lay on the floor, gasping in pain. Her eyes, strange. The air, suffocating. Heavy. Wrong. Summoning all her courage, the midwife did what she had done countless times before. She delivered the child, and then, horror. The baby didn't cry. Number It opened its eyes and stood up. The newborn walked straight out of the hut, straight into the fire, and joined the laughing children in the flames. The midwife's hands shook. This was no human child. She turned to the men, her voice barely a whisper. "What? Are you?" The men looked at her, their faces shifting, changing, not human. "We are not here to harm you," one of them said. "We needed your help, and now we will take you home." She felt her body turn to ice. "Please, let me go," she pleaded. One of them stepped forward. He held something in his hands. Leaves, the very same leaves she had dropped along the way. "Take them back. You won't need them anymore." The next moment, she was standing at her doorstep. Her heart was still racing, her hands still clutching the leaves. Something was different. She looked down and gasped. The leaves had turned into gold. Her hands trembled, her breath quickened. No, she didn't want anything from them. Nothing at all. And from that night on, she never spoke of it again, but the village still whispers her story. The night the midwife walked into the world of the unknown and came back, but not unchanged.
Our house is near lake, in an area that was once known to be haunted. The alley next to our house was especially infamous, where supernatural entities were often seen at night. My room's window opens directly into that alley. My cousins and I had a habit of staying up late, talking in my room. One night, around midnight, my cousin was on his way to our house. As he walked through the alley, he suddenly saw a figure dressed in white. Within moments, the figure began to stretch unnaturally, growing as tall as a tree, and then its head suddenly detached from its shoulders and fell to the ground. Terrified, my cousin let out a loud scream and ran straight to our house, banging on the door desperately. We were all in my room at the time, and as soon as we heard him, we rushed outside. But when we looked into the alley, there was nothing. The figure had completely disappeared. I was about 4 or 5 years old when my parents had just separated. My mom was living in a 2-bedroom apartment. I had my own room, but I always preferred sleeping in her bed whenever I stayed with her. Our bedrooms were at the end of a hallway, directly across from each other. It was summer, and my mom had her window open, which was right behind the bed, above the headboard. One night, I woke up and noticed our cat sitting in the doorway of my mom's room. This was strange, because he was usually in bed with us. I watched as he walked into my bedroom and let out a meow. I turned to wake my mom, and in the few seconds it took her to wake up and ask what was wrong, we both looked toward the doorway again, and there was a man. He was standing by my open door, making his way out of my bedroom. Somehow my mom reacted instantly. She picked me up, and a percent threw me out of the open window. We were on the first floor, so it was only a short drop. She jumped out right after me, and we both started screaming for help. Someone called 911. When the police arrived, they found no signs of forced entry. The only thing unusual was that our front door was unlocked. But my mom swore she had locked it that night, using both the deadbolt and the chain lock. A week later, while cleaning the kitchen, my mom opened the water heater closet. Inside, she found a notebook filled with names and drawings, along with a pair of gloves and some gum wrappers. The police were called again, but all they could do was speculate that the man had been in our house all along, hiding, waiting for us to fall asleep.